Hey everyone, it's Warren from DataTale. Here today in this video I'm going to show you how to use Claude for Microsoft's MCP, and we're also going to use Claude Code to access via the CLI to show you how I kind of end-to-end and see how far we can get to build a Power BI project without touching anything within Power BI Desktop. So that's the goal. Again, I am the founder of DataTale, Power BI trainer, Power BI report development. If you need ad hoc support, freelancing, training, please do reach out. But let's jump into this video. Okay, so just sharing on the screen here, this is a post I did today on LinkedIn, just showing the kind of process in terms of how I'm developing within Power BI, and got quite a bit of feedback, quite a few people asking, can you do a video to show me how you do it? And so this is my attempt to do the video, so it's all just kind of raw, me going and I'll record it, see how it goes. I will just fast forward some of the time it takes Claude to think. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a go building out a Power BI project. So in terms of the overview of where I'm going to go in this video, we're going to start in Claude Desktop MCP. I've already brought in some CSV data. I'll talk about that after this. We're going to build out a HTML wireframe in the Claude Desktop. Then we're going to create the semantic model, the measures, tables, and the DAX. Themes, color, assets, and then we're actually going to use Claude Desktop to help us do the prompts for Claude Code CLI. I don't think you need to do that, but because I've started there and has all the context, I'm just going to do that. And just a note, you need to save your file as a pbir-cli, and then the pbir-cli skills built by Kurt and Maxim. So these are Claude Code skills in there. We're going to be using them, and that's pre-built to know how to work with the PBIP. It's got a lot of other skills in there as well, which is really cool, so kudos to those guys. Add the pages, add the visuals, hopefully in the right spot, and then if we're successful with that, we're going to have a go with creating an SVG custom visual and a HTML visual as well, and create an extra page for that. And then hopefully I can do all of that without actually touching Power BI Desktop itself, and at the end all I have to do is tweak things, format things, move them around. So that's the goal of this video. So the data I'm going to be using is Victorian Road Crash data. So I've downloaded the data, it's all open from this particular website. And I've already used Claude to have a look at some images, because I think there's a Power BI report down here. So this Power BI report already exists. So I've passed these images to to Claude, and I said, write me a scoping document, because usually when you're working on a project, you will have a scoping document, and give me the color, the theme, what kind of charts I want, how many pages, etc. based off this report here, and obviously we can improve it and make it a little bit better. But I've built out that document. I'll just open that up now. So here's the document here. Again, this is all produced with Claude based off those images. It's got some information about the data. There is a classification file that I did download, so it's included that with just some of the different information about the columns, what they mean. And then we've got an overview of the project, report design, 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, talking about semantic model that we need, from raw CSV, create DAX measures, etc. Color theme. Now obviously Claude's built a few of these out, so it's kind of got the context in here that understands how to build project scope, and that's probably more because I'm receiving project scopes. What we're going to do is we're now going to bring that data into Power BI itself, that CSV file. which is here. So this is the CSV file that I've downloaded. You can download it as well if you want to go. Essentially, it's just accident ID and then a whole heap of attributes per accident. And you can get that from this link here. Now it does have it split into dimensions, but I've just grabbed the whole flat file, and let's get Power BI the MCP to split it into dimensions itself. So let's open up Power BI. I've already brought in this CSV file. So I'll just open that up. Okay, so I've just done connect CSV. All the columns are here. So the first thing we want to do is actually pass the project file to Claude and say, here's the data, connect with the MCP. So we're going to do a Power BI project. Oops, I didn't catch that. We're going to work on a Power BI project. I've got a project scope for you. I want you to have a look at the project scope, understand it, then open up the Microsoft Power BI MCP and connect to the only open Power BI desktop file that I have. The project scope will be attached. Grab that file. So if you haven't seen this before, this is Claude Desktop. To use the Microsoft MCP, I do have another video on that you can see on my YouTube channel. Shows you how to connect this up, but this only works not with the cloud version. You need Power BI Desktop. So at the moment it's interpreting the file, and so it's already read the scope, and now it's connecting to my Power BI Desktop file. Okay, it looks like it's done. It's telling me what is in, so it can read the data. So it's saying there's no DAX measures, no date tables. So where do you want to start off? So yeah, I think the first thing we should do is build this into a proper semantic model with facts and dimensions. Can you add a date table, but then also split out any other tables into dimensions that you seem appropriate? There should be a location dimension, maybe a weather dimension, and then create the relationships between the facts and dimensions, and then we'll have a look when that's done. Okay, so let's have a look. So it's creating 4-dimension tables here. And as it goes through and it creates all the dimension tables, then builds the relationships to the fact table. And then it's creating a sort for the dim date, month name and month number. creating a whole heap of sorts. Looks like it failed somewhere, but let's go have a look. So it looks like it's created 4 dimensions. Here we've got Vic Road Crash. Now it's done it in DAX. I probably would have preferred it to do it in Power Query, but it's a demo, so it's fine. Probably want it to hide all the columns that it's put out here, but it looks like it does have an error. And what I'll do is I'll copy that error. So it looks like there's some duplicate issues for doing a one-to-many join. If we have a look, see our dimension should be out like that. So it's created all those relationships, but there's an issue on dim location. So let's see if we can fix that up. Found an error. Okay, so I've passed the error to Claude, and it's looked, and it is a join, so there's multiple, and so it doesn't make sense on the join. So it has gone and fixed that by doing a group, and then it's actually deleted and redone the whole thing, and it's using a summarize. So let's go and have a look. Okay, so it's redone. Actually, I'm going to just click refresh there. The relationship's not broken. We're going to have a look at location. So you can see there. So it has done a summarize of the data just to remove any duplicates. Okay. Probably should hide any columns now that we don't need. In the fact we don't need, so MCP can do that. Really good for, you know, bulk updating, bulk formatting. Here it knows all the columns that it's referenced in the dimensions, so it shouldn't have an issue finding them and hiding them. So it looks like it's going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so should have less columns. Do we have less columns? Let's check. Hidden, move to code, LJ name, feed grid. Okay, it has. It's all good. Still got latitude and longitude there, which is weird. Why is lat and long still in fact? So as you can see, it's definitely a interactive process. It's not like Claude 100% knows what it's doing. You know, obviously using Power BI for a while helps you to understand what's going on, but it does do things a lot faster. So you can see here, it's actually gone and done it now. So, are we going to move into the measures? Yeah, let's do that. So, yes, I'm ready to move in the DAX measures. What I'd like to do is to make a measures table, put an underscore before it so it comes out first, and then create all the measures that we need to create the charts that were defined in the project scope. I would like them, if possible, to have the page number as subfolders. I understand that some would go across, so maybe you could have like generic ones, but if there's any specific to just pages, if you could put them in a page folder for me. If you're not sure what this is and how I'm able to talk to Claude, that's just the Windows button H, and I'm using the Microsoft microphone. For some reason Claude Desktop doesn't have a built-in microphone. I'm not sure why. I have used the one on my mobile phone and it's terrible, so probably good that it doesn't have one on Claude Desktop. So it's going to go now and build out all the DAX measures. Okay, very quick at creating DAX measures. You can see here it says good plan. Thanks Claude, thinks my idea is good to put underscore measures. It's created some year-on-year, core, and then some pages. And then it's gone and created 43 measures across all. Saying one thing to note, severity and filters use string values I've inferred from the dataset description. Okay, so it's saying it doesn't have a look at the data and it's not sure if in the measures it can do that, but it can look in. So I'm just going to say go and check the data to see if those are the values. So because it can run DAX functions, it can have a look, and you'll see now it'll run some DAX queries to look at that particular column and then have a look at the values within that column. And so here obviously is a big warning. This is open data. This data is getting processed in America, and so if you have data sovereignty issues, so if you work for government, you can't use this on real data because it is processing the data offshore. So you can see here that it has found that it isn't a perfect match. So now it's going to go and fix the measures to actually match the data. So the scoping document that I had was different from the actual data. So it's going to work through that. Okay, so we've built out the semantic model, the relationships, the DAX measures. What I really want to do is create a wireframe, which I probably should have done first, but that's all good. Hey, what I really want to do is to create a wireframe to show my client. I'd like you to build it in HTML, and so that it'll have all the slices there. It'll have a pane on the left with all the filters. Actually, no, sorry. Scratch that. We want to build it exactly the same as the document, the scoping document. So not how I usually build my Power BI reports, but with the slices at the top. So if you can follow the design in the scoping document and build out an HTML page of the whole dashboard for me, so I can present that to the client to say this is how I'm going to make it. Now we can't use the logos because the screenshots are from another company, so just exclude that, but we do need to keep to the color theme that was provided in the scoping document. Any other questions before we proceed? Sometimes it's good to ask that question, any other questions before we proceed, because Claude obviously will just jump in and do things, but if there's something that you haven't been clear, it will ask you for feedback in terms of what you want to do. So in this time it seems to be fine with my definition. So it's going to build a HTML wireframe, and these are always great when you're working with internal or clients, because they can get a really good understanding of what it is. And if you have like this one, I can actually pass it the real data, and we might do that as well, and it'll actually give you the correct figures. So once this is done, I might pass it the actual CSV file, and then it can actually build it out with real data, and that's going to help us when we do our Q&A to make sure our Power BI report matches the HTML file that it's going to build. Okay, so that took a little bit longer, but using HTML, it's built out the wireframe, and I can actually look at it in desktop. So here I'm in Claude Desktop. It's got that kind of front information page. It's got a little bit of navigation down the bottom, but the navigation is meant to be up here in the top. Got some warnings, etc. And here we go is the file, and all the different filters are up the top. It looks like it's using the new card in Power BI and giving some examples. Obviously clicking things isn't going to do anything. You could get it to do things, and you can get it to actually filter. We've got the crash summary there, and build your own query. Now seems like it's got the accident number, so I wonder if it is actually using data from the Power BI MCP report because it's already connected. Let's ask that question. Are you using data from the Power BI desktop file? So I'm interested to see if it actually did this just as in created sample, or has it actually gone and looked out? So it's purely design. If you want, I can query the actual. Sure, it's all open data, so let's do that. Yep. Do that, make the numbers accurate. So probably going to take a little bit of time now because it's going to go back via the MCP, query the data, but let's have a look in terms of, well, our slices don't really work anyway, but it is going to have a look at the raw data and build out a file for us. I might have to get it to get the slices to work correctly. Okay, that took a little bit longer than I thought, but you can see here now it does look the same, but let's have a look. If we go to casualty summary, so that should be 2024, there were 284 fatalities, which is down 3.7%. So if you have a look at the report, so I've just got fatalities 284, so down from 295. So we can actually use this HTML file because it's using real data to QA the Power BI report that we build. What you can do is you can actually download this. So you can see here, download the file. You can download this HTML file, and there's lots of free websites where you can upload just one HTML file, and then via that URL you can share it with your client and they can look and they can give you feedback and they can say, I like this, I don't like that. So this looks really good. This is what we're going to have a go building. I'm going to see if it can create a 5th page for us, and that's just because I want to try to use some other visuals. So jump into here. Okay, I'm really happy with this. Let's create a 5th page. You can build it on whatever you want. You know the data, so what do you think would be an important page for people to see? But what I'd really like you to do is, I want to have a go, oops, not sure what happened there. Is to create maybe just 2 charts on the page. One is going to be an SVG chart, and we'll build it with SVG. And the other one is going to be within HTML, and we're going to build it within HTML. So can you create a 5th page, maybe just 2 charts on it? So I want to obviously show you that you can have a lot of flexibility in terms of creating SVG charts, HTML, Deneb, but I figured, seeing we're building with HTML here, we'll do something in HTML, and then we'll also do something with SVG as well. So it said what it's going to build, and so we'll let it run, and it should go and build a 5th page for us. Okay, so it looks like it's done. It's doing SVG chart crashes and fatalities by speed, HTML crashes by DCA crash type. So again, it can actually analyze the data, and it's pulling out insights based on that. Page 5 is now live. You see I've got a 5th page here, and okay, so here we have the different charts, and obviously neither of these charts we can do within Power BI itself, so let's see if we can actually build these out. Alright, so I should have done this before I built out the measures, so now I'm going to say based on this, based on what we've now done in this HTML, the client is very happy with the design. Are there any additional DAX measures you now need to build because we've gone and changed the design? All right, DAX. Doesn't understand Australian accent maybe. Alright, so hopefully it's going to remember that it needs to make a folder with a 5 in the measures table. Let's see if it remembers, and it's probably going to add some measures for this particular page. Okay, so that's done. It did find some gaps. I do like asking Claude to check itself because it definitely makes mistakes. But you can see here, page 5, what is needed. And if we have a look and we just refresh the file now, should see in the measures table 1, 2, 4 didn't need one, and then 5, it's made a measure for 5. Okay, so all our measures are there, they're in the folders. There's a column, I don't know why it didn't hide that column table. All our dimensions, everything's built out. And now, you know, this is where you could start and actually building out the Power BI report. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump over and use Maximum Kurt's skills and their pbir-cli. I think I got that right. I'll check when we load it. But I'm going to jump into PowerShell and start up Claude. So PowerShell, call Claude. Yep, so it asks for permissions, and to give it a permission you just have to click 1. You can see here that it's in. Just open that up. So it's not, I suppose, as clean as the kind of MCP. It's more of a code language, CLI. So you write your instructions in here. Now, I kind of use the MCP to talk to Claude Code. Not sure if that's the best way to do it. I'm sure you could do some of that in there. But if I jump back into Claude, I can now do things like, say, what I need to do and what prompts to pass into Claude Code. So within the desktop, do that. So first thing, I'm moving to Claude Code. Can you help me connect to the PBIB? Now, one thing I did forget is I will need to save this file as a PBIP. So Claude Code, if we're going to be dealing with, you know, creating pages and charts, it needs the PBIP, not the PBIX. So I'll save the file like that. I'll show you what it looks like in that particular folder where I'm working. So if I just refresh, you can see here PBIP. So it actually doesn't have any data. It kind of points back to the PBIX, but it's got all the metadata and information kind of, I think if I'm correct, cached in there. So we can use the PBIP when we're finished. We save it as a PBIX, but we need it for Claude Code to connect. Now, you won't see that option if you haven't turned on the preview settings. Here, options, preview features. You need this section turned on. If you haven't done before, then you just click restart, because we need TMDL. Obviously we did it via the MCP, so we did all the kind of DAX and stuff, but we could have done it via Claude Code. But I think the metadata is what we're actually after. So that metadata is going to allow us to hopefully build out the pages and give them correct names and things like that. So this is now a pbir-cli, and jump back into Claude. Say, first thing I'm moving Claude code. Can you help me connect to the pbir-cli file? Okay, so I can copy that, and Power BI Desktop is closed, so you can't have the pbir-cli open. So close that, jump back into PowerShell and paste that in there. Again, doing this all on the fly, so fingers crossed everything hopes, but if not, we'll debug it together. So just a note, it needs to be closed when you're working with the pbir-cli file. Okay, so this is connected. Again, just a shout out to Kurt and Maxim. I'll tag them in the post and down below, but so they've obviously built the pbir for CLI, so it's got all the skills in there. I've already pre-installed it, so that already runs when I connect to Claude, and it's allowing it to connect, and it's interpreting all the measures and the tables, etc. So I have been able to connect, and now what we might do is, okay, let me create the tab pages correctly named. So we're going to have 5 pages. Actually, I better say in Claude code. Sometimes they do get a little bit confused whether you're talking. Okay, to get, yeah, via Claude code. Okay, prompt for Claude code. So I do kind of find that as I'm moving between the two, Claude Desktop does get confused whether I'm asking it to do it here or just to provide a prompt. So here's the prompt for Claude code. Alright, I don't know if it needs all of this. You know what? Let's not just go step by step. Why don't I just ask it to create a prompt, and we'll pass the whole thing to Claude code, and let's see what happens. So based on the project and everything we've done and all the things we've talked about and the HTML design, I now need Claude code to create the pages, the theme, the colors, and let's say everything except page 5, because we'll do that because that might be a little bit more complicated. So can you have a go at pages 1 to 4, giving me a prompt that I can put into Claude code? Claude code is then going to generate that for me. So we saw before Claude code was connected to the these acronyms, pbir-cli file. And so now this is going to give us a prompt, and I'll pass that prompt into Claude code. Okay, so Claude Desktop, MCP, is kind of giving me a lot of context now that I'm going to pass to Claude code. You can see it's giving me information about the project location, the canvas size, the color theme, so in terms of KPIs of this, the navigation bars this, and card backgrounds, etc. The font, it's giving information about the semantic model and all the tables, measure folders, etc. Blah blah blah. The navigation bar, and then here you go, page 1. I suppose what's interesting, it's even telling it the point on the screen, so X24 and Y68. So hopefully we should get them in exactly the same places as the HTML wireframe. Subtitles, yeah. So essentially it's taken that whole HTML and put it as a description, which is quite long. Also worth copying the wireframe HTML into the project folder before you start so Claude Code can read it. I did actually save the HTML in there. So you can see here, that's the HTML. You can actually open it up and you can see it there. So we can, oh, that's interesting. So we can actually pass this whole HTML to Claude Code. How do we do that? So copy as path. I have saved HTML here. How to pass to Claude Code. So obviously that's going to help. Claude Code runs to the machine, slice to system files. Simply add this line to the top. So copy that, Claude Code, copy that, go back, copy that, copy that, enter. Alright, so I've copied all of that. I won't scroll over and say, oh, it's not too far. So Claude Code's going to start running through all of this. I'm interested to see how long this is going to take. So, but obviously I'll pause for you and we'll come back and we'll see what it's done. Actually, while it's just started to run, one of the things I do like about Claude Code is you can see here it tells you how many tokens it's using. Within Claude Desktop you have no idea, so that's always handy. You can see how it's running there, but it's obviously taking all that context and thinking about it now. So just an update, 7 minutes so far. You can see it's built itself a little checklist. So it's creating the JSON theme file now, encountering a few issues and fixing itself, and now it's updating the report JSON file, and then it's going to go and build pages 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I am just clicking 1 to give it permissions all the time, which is a bit boring, so I'll pause and we'll come back and hopefully we'll see what we've got at the end. Alright. Okay, so back. It definitely took a while and a lot of tokens, and there were, you can see, some errors in terms of, especially with the visual.json file, so putting things in the wrong place, but it has successfully gone through, and I just passed the error messages back to it, so every time I opened it, it wouldn't open, but, oh sorry, that's the PBIX. Where is the PBIP? There we are. So opening up the PBIP and let's see what we get. Okay, so remembering I haven't touched anything at all, and you can see this page actually looks quite reasonable. You can see in terms of, you know, it hasn't exactly got the sizes perfect, but you know, it can move that around slightly. So it's created a blue, I think that's a shape. Lots of boxes there. Oh, that's the navigator. Okay, it hasn't created the navigations to the other pages, but it's put some boxes there. That all looks fine. Let's try the next page. So it has created 4 pages, cards, slices. Obviously, you know, its spacing is not going to get correct from the HTML, but you know, it's built that all out. It's using the date dimension, it's using the measures, sorted correctly, crash summary. That looks correct. So let's just bring up the HTML again and let's see what it is trying to do with all these boxes. Okay, so obviously you can't do that in Power BI, so we don't have that particular option. Well, it could put it in the new button slicer. So let's see if we can work that in. So let's kind of put those just in buttons, but instead of the button slicer. Build your own query. See if we've got the map to work. So all those slices, obviously, you need to kind of work them in a little bit. And okay, cool. Yeah, it's got the map there. It's built out the map, the latitude and longitude. It's got this page on the side. So obviously there's a bit of work in terms of me designing and moving things, but it's pretty amazing that it's actually built all the charts there. And this is a lot faster than me building them all from scratch. And it did take a while to run. There was some errors, but you know, I could have run this while I was out and come back and worked on it. So I can work on something else while this is running. So there is another thing that I want to do. We still need to add the 5th page, and also going to see if we can add a background image. I'm not sure if that's possible in Claude Code, but we will have a go with that. So let's see if we can add a background image. So I have already gone, while that was running, into Claude, and I said, can you take the HTML template and build this background image as a PNG file? So I've got that file now, and then what we're going to do is let's see if we can bring that file into Claude Code and see if we can drop that in a background on all 4 pages for us. Okay, so I've got Claude Desktop to write me a script, and it's pointing to where I've got the PNG file saved. Had a few issues. Hopefully it's learning as we move through these things, but eventually it says it was successful. So let's open up the file and have a look. Okay, well, that looks like it has worked. So you can see the background images there on each page. Wonder what it looks like in the settings. Canvas background. There it is, and stretch. Cool. So, I mean, that's handy because when someone says, hey, we're changing our background and I've got 50 pages, well, now we can batch through all that. So let's have a go now at our 5th page, and maybe we'll just do the HTML chart, considering the SVG. So we'll try the SVG chart and see if we can build that. So I'll head back to Claude Code. Okay. Give me the instructions for Claude Code to now create the 5th page. We're just going to start with the SVG visual first. Okay, had to clarify that I wanted an SVG in a DAX measure. Got a little bit confused, but it has given me the prompt here, and so now this time in Claude Code we're going to create the DAX measures. So we'll just wait for this to finish running, and then we'll paste this into Claude Code. So step 3, so yeah, I haven't made the page yet, so it needs to make the page. Step 4, add that DAX measure to an image or card, and then verify what we've done. So jump back over to here. Now again, we could have done this all in one go, in Claude Desktop, said give us the whole prompt for the whole Power BI report. But I'm interested in terms of this time we're using a DAX SVG, and then after that we'll use a HTML viewer, which we might need to install first, but we'll see how it goes. So I'll pause here, we'll let this run. Alright, so Claude Code worked for about 10 minutes, and essentially it was catching errors and working through things while I was watching, so I'm really not sure how this is going to go. So we're looking for a DAX measure created as an SVG, and it was going to build a table on the left. So let's see when this opens. So it has thrown an error, so I tried to open that file, and so what I do is I copy this out and drop it into Claude Code so that it knows what the error is. Actually, I've got to close that file. Quickly do that. And so a lot of these I'm working through the issues where it hasn't got something correctly placed, and so that I pass the error code back to it, and then it'll work through that error. Then most likely, okay, it looks like it's fixed it. Most likely it'll go through another error. So, what's this? Oh, I have the file open in the background. Whoops. Not sure if I should save that now. Let's just don't save. Just say check again. So I accidentally had the file open in the back. Okay, so a little bit of back and forth, but you can see here that this is the SVG measure. It's quite long, and it's in here, and here it is displayed. Now it's all, it's hard-coded, which is not super useful for us. So, but it is displaying exactly as in our wireframe. So let's have a go maybe with the HTML version now. So actually I'll jump over to Claude Desktop and get it to write a prompt for the HTML measure. Okay, so write a prompt for the new HTML measure, and so here we have the prompt in here. Alright, looks like it is hard coding the data, but anyway, we can do that as a demo. So, that in there. And I just want to add put in HTML viewer visual.
What is that?
Alright, so that one was a little bit faster via HTML. I've already opened the file up here, and so you can see it's using this HTML content in here. Now look, this is all hard-coded, which is not great, so let's see now if I can tell it to use actual data and see if these figures will update using data instead of hard-coding the visual here. Okay, so went for a few minutes, created another one that is not hard-coded. So I've jumped over across. So you can see it looks exactly the same, but the visual changes to the rates are changing on the side. Excellent. All right. So that's worked. Obviously, the tweaking and the formatting, I would still need to go back through this Power BI report. And I could fix some of this with Claude Code in terms of, setting the heights so that I don't have to, or I could just select them all and moving the cards. But, this will save me a lot of time in terms of anything that I need to do batch. So look, to be honest, my preference would still be to use the MCP for DAX creation. I know that it uses more tokens and things like that, but you can do it in Claude Code as well. This page, in terms of the creating the SVG and the HTML, to be honest, it took a while in Claude Code, and maybe that'll improve, and maybe that's my poor prompting. But I do this a lot faster with the MCP, and then I can see it instantly how it's performing. So I'd probably still stick with the MCP for all of that. But if you want to create pages, themes, the background images, all that kind of batch stuff within Power BI Desktop, and then come along and clean it afterwards, definitely a time saver on here. So there you go. That's me running a project end to end. Again, apologies, is all kind of live and a bit of back and forth, but hopefully you've got some insights out of that in terms of the way that agents are working in the world of Power BI and how you can use it to improve what you're doing. So give the page on YouTube a like and subscribe, and hopefully if there's a lot of interest, I'll do some other things in terms of how I'm using Claude to speed up my project delivery. So thanks everyone. I'll see you next time.